So I, 37M, have a younger brother, Tom, 26M, who's getting married in 3 months. A year ago, when he and his fiancée were planning their wedding, they were struggling to find an affordable venue. I own a vacation property with a large yard that's been used for a couple of small weddings before, so I offered it to him as a wedding venue, rent-free. My only condition was that I wanted to be part of the wedding party, which he agreed to. Everything seemed fine. Last week, Tom and I got into a small argument. It really wasn't a big deal, but a couple of days later, he texted me and said he and his fiancée decided to downsize their wedding party and I was no longer going to be a groomsman. I was shocked because I thought this was set in stone a year ago. I called him to ask what was going on, and he said it wasn't personal, just that they wanted to keep things small and intimate and didn't feel like they needed me in the wedding party. I was pretty hurt, but I didn't say anything at the time. Then it occurred to me, if I'm not important enough to be in his wedding party, why should I host the wedding at my place? So I called him again and told him that since I wasn't going to be part of the wedding, they need to find another venue. Now, Tom and his fiancée are furious. They say they can't afford another venue at this point and that I'm ruining their big day. My parents are also upset and say I should just let it go and still host the wedding. I feel like I was doing them a huge favor, and they essentially uninvited me from being part of the most important day of their lives. I don't think I'm wrong to retract my offer, but now everyone's making me feel guilty. So, am I the a-hole for canceling the venue? Edit. This blew up way more than I thought it would. Checked my messages after work today and holy crap. To answer a few questions I'm seeing repeatedly. 1. Why did I need to offer to loan out my vacation house to be in the wedding? Repeating one of my comments, my brother and I have had a little bit of a rocky relationship most of his life. Our age difference has always been an awkward amount, and I think he's jealous of my success in life too. He's done okay, but I've climbed the corporate ladder pretty quickly in finance, and I think a lot of girls he's dated have had crushes on me, being his older brother and the more successful one, and that bothers him. He picks small things to get mad at me about because of his jealousy, and I felt like if I made it a condition of lending out my place, he would let me be in his wedding. 2. What did you get into an argument about? He got upset at me because he thinks I don't do enough with our parents, but I travel for my job, so it's harder for me to be there in person. I also help them out financially, which he never considers as helping out. They haven't saved as much as they probably should and are getting closer to retirement, so I help them out with some bills so they can put more in their 401k accounts instead, but I guess that isn't enough. He always finds something to say I'm doing wrong. 3. Are you still invited to the wedding? Technically, he only said I'm not in the wedding party, but it feels like such a slap in the face at this point, and it definitely feels like he doesn't want me there. I'll try to talk to him again to see what the real issue is because downsizing seems like BS to me. Relevant comments. Commenter number 1, downvoted YTA. It's very inappropriate for you to manipulate someone into being in their wedding. It's immature to withdraw your offer of the venue because they can't afford much and you didn't get your way. For their sakes, I hope they can find a new venue so that they don't have to deal with you and your behavior and they can exercise their justifiable right to not invite you. OP doesn't play well with others. OP, I don't really feel like I'm manipulating anyone. I figured my only brother would want me there since we're family. It feels like he isn't telling me what the real reason is he doesn't want me there. And if he doesn't want to treat me like family, I guess I feel like I can return the favor. Commenter number 2, petty, just like you should be. It was an agreement between the two of you. Venue rent-free, but you were part of the wedding party. Your brother decided to punish you the wrong way. As long as he took back his part of your contract, you are no longer forced to honor your part. But it's too late for them to find something. You should tell them that as long as your brother can't honor his part of your deal, you're okay for them to do the venue at the same place but for X amount. Payable right now because, well, the confidence is broken. Maybe it'll force your brother to tell you the real reason why he doesn't want you anymore in his wedding. Commenter number 3, I am curious. Why didn't your brother ask you to be in the wedding to begin with? You say you made it a condition for him to use your property and he agreed. Why would it be a condition? If he didn't ask you even before the property was offered, why? Do you two not really get along or not that close? What was this argument about? Now you say it wasn't a big deal, but maybe you don't think so, but he does. What happened? For him to make up that excuse, which you know that is the deal, tells me he didn't want you in the wedding party to begin with. In that regard, I don't blame you. I think you need to elaborate regarding your relationship with your brother. Update 1. I was having a hard time believing my brother when he told me they were downsizing the wedding party just to make it more intimate, but that's all he kept saying when I would ask for the real reason. In all honesty, my brother and I aren't that close, which I'm sure is obvious from my last post. After my emotions settled down a bit, I told my brother I wanted to talk to him. He wasn't responding to me, so I said I wanted to talk to him about potentially letting them still use my vacation house. Not totally the truth, but it seemed like a good way to get him to talk. He finally responded but said I couldn't come over. He would only meet me somewhere public, which seemed weird. We ended up meeting at a bar late last night that I like near my place, and I straight up just asked him why he was really kicking me out of his wedding, and I would only consider letting them use my vacation house if he told me the truth. He was getting pretty fidgety and looking away from me, and finally told me the truth. Apparently his fiancée heard that I may do a bit of white powder here and there for fun, and she told him that she didn't want a crackhead in her wedding. He said he actually kind of agreed with her and was disappointed in what I was doing. I told him if I'm too much of a crackhead to be there, then they really shouldn't want to use a crackhead's house for their wedding, and I left. I don't really see how it impacts them what I do in my free time, but I really don't care to be there now if that's what they think of me. I haven't said a word to him since then, but I'm guessing I won't be hearing from him again soon. Edit. To answer some consistent questions/comments. Oh, you must be a drug addict. I do sniffing maybe a handful of times a year recreationally with some people that I party with. Obviously, this gossip traveled through the grapevine where circles overlapped and got to them somehow. I wasn't discovered because I'm an addict. Like some have said, it's more common than you think. You'd be surprised who does it. 2. You must have a drug problem for them to react that way about it. My brother's fiancée comes from a very religious and conservative family. They think anyone that does a hard drug must be a degenerate and is going to hell. That's the funny part about her calling me a crackhead. Crack is whack. She clearly doesn't understand coke is different, but I'm not going to go on a mission to educate her. It would be wasted effort on my part. You can be successful in life and recreationally use drugs. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Honestly, pretty much anyone I know that does coke has plenty of money and a great job. Or they married someone rich/inherited money. Final comments. Well, after scrolling through a decent amount of comments, I've come to the conclusion that I'm obviously a terrible douchebag with an enormous drug problem that only thinks about myself and is extremely conceited. Sarcasm. Some parts of that may be true, but I do care about my family and try to help my parents in the way that I know how. For those of you that are familiar with Fight Club, I am a single-serving friend kind of person. I don't really get close with many people, and I have a hard time staying in one place. That's why I have a job where I need to travel all the time. I like the variety and the challenge of it. Settling down, having kids, all that makes me super uncomfortable. Obviously, I'd be a terrible father, so there's no way I'll have kids. Snip, snip. My brother is a settled-down kind of guy, and thinking about it, that's probably why he doesn't like me. I wanted to be a groomsman for him because I wanted to be a part of something in his life, but in a capacity I can handle. I've got awesome parents that love me for who I am, and they know I love them even if I'm not around a ton. They worked super hard to raise us and give us everything we needed when they came from a poorer background. I help them how I know I can. Not everyone shows they care in the same way you do. So chill, and don't think I'm an ass because my way of caring is mostly financial. Relevant comments. Commenter number 1. I'm getting older. I'm seeing just how many people actually do coke, and it's usually occasionally, has completely changed my perspective. Also, crack and coke are very, very different. R.I.P. Whitney. That's a dumbass reason. Do they think you're going to be strung out during the wedding? They want the crackhead's rental property, but not the crackhead? Make it make sense? Intia. OP. I use how you're describing. You're 100% correct. I don't touch crack. Just recreational coke and very functional in my life. Probably not healthy, but I see it like alcohol. I'm not abusing it, so I'm doing okay. My brother didn't say who they heard it from, but I could guess a handful of people that would be in a party group I hang out with that news like that could travel from. If they didn't hear it through the grapevine, they never would have known, so I obviously wouldn't have gone to their wedding strung out. A pretty large number of people don't get that. You're absolutely right. Commenter number 2. You are a crackhead, therefore we don't want you around our wedding. However, we still would very much like to use your crack house as our wedding venue. Commenter number 3. What I hate is it wasn't like they were concerned for OP's health and well-being, just how things impact them. If it is such a big problem, it should be about his health. I'd never talk to them again and make them get a new venue. Commenter number 4. I mean, cocaine isn't very good for you, but you and your property should be a package deal. If your behavior is so bad they don't want you in the wedding, then they shouldn't want your place either. Update 2. After my last update, I figured that was pretty much it. I hadn't heard from my brother since our awkward bar meetup, and to be honest, I wasn't expecting to. But as you all know, family drama doesn't just end quietly, it escalates in the most bizarre ways possible. So, it's been about 2 weeks of radio silence. I'm going about my business, working, traveling, minding my own crackhead business, when out of nowhere, I get a frantic call from my mom. She's talking a mile a minute, and I can barely keep up, but from what I could gather, Tom and his fiancée have not found another venue. Shocking, I know. Apparently, they've been trying to book somewhere else, but everything is either too expensive or already reserved. Now, with less than 3 months to go, they're in full panic mode. And guess who they expect to swoop in and save the day? Yep, me. My mom starts laying it on thick, talking about how family comes first, and they're desperate. She even throws in a little guilt trip about how your brother is going through a lot right now. Yeah, like planning a wedding without the crackhead he disinvited. Then, as if she hasn't already dropped enough on me, she casually mentions that they're planning to ask me to just stay in the background during the wedding if I let them use my place. Excuse me? Stay in the background? So now, not only am I apparently a degenerate druggie, but I'm also supposed to be some kind of invisible landlord who hands over his property and just vanishes? Needless to say, I told her no. A hard, unflinching no. I mean, come on. I have some self-respect. You can't kick me out of the wedding, call me a crackhead, and then ask me to let you use my place like I'm some kind of wedding venue charity. But wait, it gets crazier. Just as I'm about to hang up, my mom drops the ultimate bombshell. Tom and his fiancée are considering moving the wedding to my parents' backyard if I don't budge. My parents' backyard. The same backyard that barely fits a lawn chair, let alone a wedding. She's practically begging me at this point because she knows how ridiculous this sounds. I'll admit, the thought of them trying to cram 150 people into a suburban postage stamp-sized yard made me laugh out loud. Good luck with that. Now, here's where things took an unexpected twist. Tom himself calls me the next day. I pick up, half expecting more begging, but instead, he sounds weirdly calm. He starts off with some awkward small talk, which immediately puts me on edge because we don't do small talk. Then he hits me with it. Bro, what if we just rented the place from you? Excuse me, what? He starts explaining that they'll pay me to use the vacation house as a venue. Like, real money. He's talking thousands, and while I was fully prepared to tell him where to shove his offer, the number he threw out was more than tempting. I'm not gonna lie, he hit me where it hurts. You dangle enough cash in front of me, and suddenly, my moral high ground looks a little shakier. But I was still furious. I told him the deal was never about the money. It was about being part of his day. And here's where it got super weird. He says something along the lines of, look, man, I know we've had our differences, but maybe this could be a way to, like, reset things between us. Reset things? The guy's been treating me like some distant relative he barely tolerates, and now he thinks throwing money at me is going to fix it? Honestly, at this point, I don't even know what to think. It's like they don't want me in the wedding, but need me more than ever. It's not even about the wedding party anymore, it's about control. It feels like a twisted game of chess where I'm being checkmated into agreeing to something just so I can be a part of the family again, even if it's from the sidelines. Here's the thing. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. I told him I'd think about it, which, let's be real, was just a stalling tactic because I have no idea what to do. Part of me wants to laugh in his face and walk away from this whole mess. Another part of me, the part that's always been the overachiever, the people pleaser, the good son, is actually considering his offer. The money would be nice, and maybe, just maybe, would put an end to this never-ending sibling rivalry we've been stuck in for years. But here's the kicker. Ive started hearing through the grapevine, aka my mom, that Tom's fiancé has no idea he's made this offer. So, now I'm sitting here, wondering if I'm about to step into an even bigger pile of family drama if I agree. Will she flip out when she finds out? Will they even have the wedding at this point? Am I insane for considering this? I guess we'll find out soon enough. For now, I'm sitting on this offer, sipping my drink, and waiting to see what happens next. Update 3. So after I left you hanging with my last update, I spent the next few days stewing in my own thoughts, trying to figure out if I should take Tom's offer. I mean, it was tempting, right? Thousands of dollars, maybe some reconciliation with my brother, and the chance to be the bigger person in this ridiculous soap opera that is my family. But deep down, something just didn't sit right. The fact that Tom had made this secret deal behind his fiancée's back? Shady as hell. Plus, the idea of letting them rent my place while I sit in the background, banished like some kind of wedding day ghost, gnawed at me. I started thinking about how this whole situation was never about the money. It was about respect. It was about family. And, most importantly, it was about not letting people walk all over you just because they're related to you. So I made a decision. A big one. The next day, I called Tom. He picked up, sounding all optimistic like I was about to agree and make his life easier. Not today, little brother. I told him we needed to meet up in person because there were a few things I needed to say to him face to face. I could tell he was hesitant, but I insisted. If he was going to try and buy me off, he could at least look me in the eye while doing it. We meet at the same bar where we'd had our last conversation, and from the second I walked in, I knew this was going to be the end of something, but I wasn't sure what just yet. Tom looked nervous, like he knew something was off but couldn't quite place it. I sat down, skipped the small talk, and went straight for the jugular. "Does your fiancé know about your little offer?" His face went pale, and he stumbled through some excuse, saying that he was going to tell her eventually, and that he didn't want to stress her out while they were already under so much pressure with the wedding. Classic Tom, always trying to spin things like he's the good guy. "Yeah, well, I think she deserves to know what you're planning," I said, leaning in. So I told her. His eyes widened in shock, and I'll never forget the look on his face. Pure disbelief. "Yup, you read that right." Earlier that day, I tracked down her number, "Thanks, Mom," and gave her a call. I laid out everything. The offer, the money, the fact that Tom had been trying to rent my place behind her back. And you know what? She was pissed. Turns out, she had no idea he was doing this. She thought they were looking for other venues, and when she found out he was trying to cut a side deal with me, she completely lost it. Apparently, they'd been having trust issues, and this was the last straw. Tom sat there, speechless, trying to process what I had just dropped on him. I could see the gears turning in his head, and then like clockwork he exploded. He starts yelling, calling me every name under the sun, accusing me of trying to ruin his wedding, ruin his relationship, ruin his life. It was the most emotion I'd ever seen from him, and honestly, it was kind of satisfying watching him unravel after all the crap he's put me through. But I stayed calm. For once, I didn't take the bait. When he finally ran out of steam, I just looked at him and said, "You did this to yourself, man. You could have had the wedding at my place, for free, with your brother standing beside you. But you made your choices. You treated me like I wasn't family, and now you get to live with the consequences." I left the bar after that. I didn't wait for him to respond because, frankly, there was nothing left to say. I was done. Now, here's where things take a real twist. A few days after that showdown, I start hearing rumblings from the family that the wedding is postponed. Yep, apparently, after my little chat with his fiancée, things spiraled. She confronted him, and they got into a massive fight. She accused him of being dishonest and manipulative, and from what I've heard through the grapevine, she called the whole thing off for now. They're taking a break, which, let's be real, probably means she's on her way out the door. I wish I could say I felt bad for Tom, but honestly, I don't. This was a long time coming, and maybe it'll force him to take a good, hard look at himself and how he treats the people around him. Or maybe he'll just keep blaming me for everything. Either way, not my problem anymore. As for me, I've never felt more relieved. I've spent so long trying to be the perfect older brother, bending over backward to please everyone and getting nothing in return. But now, I'm free. I don't have to worry about the wedding, the venue, or the family drama. I can go back to living my life, enjoying my vacation house, and doing whatever the hell I want without feeling guilty about it. The best part? I've already rented out the house for another event on the weekend. They were supposed to get married. So while my brother is dealing with his relationship fallout, I'll be raking in a nice chunk of change and relaxing by the pool, far away from all the chaos.